Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and today Apple released iOS 16.5 Developer Beta 1. This is available to developers, and iOS 16.5 Public Beta 1 seems to be out for some people as well. So if you're not seeing it already, you'll see it either later today or tomorrow at the latest, but it should be there for most people. This particular update was a very large 5.46 gigabytes. That's because you're going from a public version of iOS 16.4 to a new beta, which fully reinstalls the OS. Anytime you do that, switch from a public version to a beta or from a beta back to a public, it reinstalls the whole version and it will be a large install. Now, this was released alongside iPadOS 16.5 Beta 1, macOS 13.5 Beta 1, watchOS 9.5 Beta 1, and then tvOS and HomePod OS 16.5 Beta 1. All of those are available now if you're a developer or beta tester. Now let's take a look at the build number and talk about what's new. So we'll go to Settings, then we'll go to General, then About, and you can see the build number is 20F5028E. This particular build is the first version, which means there's going to be some changes, but we get more as the betas progress. Now the first thing that's new is a new modem update. So we went from a different version of 1.67.04 to 1.70.00 on the 14 Pro Max. It may vary a little bit depending on the device you have. Now, the first new feature or change is if you're using your device and you're not enrolled in the beta program or developer program, you could still install this with the beta profile. However, you'll get a message this time. So if you go into your settings, go to software update, you'll see that I have iOS 16 developer beta. That's because this has the profile installed, and you'll see a message here that says your Apple ID is not currently enrolled in the selected beta program. Join the Apple Beta Software Program or Apple Developer Program to continue receiving future beta updates. I really believe Apple will get rid of the beta profile eventually here, and maybe they're just doing this to get you onto 16.5 as they had planned to do with 16.4. So make sure you're enrolled in that if you want to continue to receive updates. Another feature they've added in 16.5 Beta 1 is the ability to use Siri to start a screen recording. So if we press the side button or we use the word Siri with the word hey in front of it, we'll just press and hold. Start a screen recording. You can see on the right, it starts to record the screen. With 16.4 on the left, it actually says, sorry, I can't help you with that. Stop the screen recording. And then it should stop. Stop the screen recording. There we go, and it says done. So you'll see it's saved. We can go in and actually view the screen recording. So that's something that's been updated with 16.5 Beta 1. The first physical change is under the News app. Within News, you'll see here that we have a new sports section. Under 16.4, that wasn't there. Now, this is very similar to what you would set up before with your different favorite teams and things like that, where you can follow along. So it now just has its own dedicated section. It should probably have its own dedicated app, such as Apple Music Classical, since they're making a big push into sports. So pick your favorite team, follow your sports scores, see the news about those teams, and also what video is live and available now. So that's available now. And of course, you can see all sports or just pick from the list here. So that's been updated, and it's just a little bit of a change to News. Now, Apple rolled out Apple Pay Later for some earlier today. It's not available to everyone yet, and as you can see here in the Apple newsroom, they introduced Apple Pay Later to allow consumers to pay for purchases over time. So it has a Pay Later interface, and then you can see the different payments that are upcoming. And it has a pretty nice interface, although I haven't seen it yet, but it gives you due dates of what's available in the next few weeks. And Apple calls these loans. So it says users can apply for Apple Pay Later loans of $50 to $1,000, which can be used for online and in-app purchases made on iPhone and iPad with merchants that accept Apple Pay. So it's sort of a loan. You can add money here and then pay for it over time. So it's a nice little update if you want to use it. Let me know if it's activated for you yet. Now, Apple also released Apple Music Classical. Now, technically it came out today, but it released in the United States at about 11 p.m. yesterday. So Apple Music Classical is its own dedicated app, and you can see here under Listen Now, we have a bunch of recently played. It shows not only your classical music that's been played, but also your regular music that's been played, along with periods and genres, exclusive albums, new releases, and more. Basically, it's a dedicated Apple Music app that looks the same, but has more in it. If we go to browse, we have all new sections here that have sort of a skeuomorphic design, which I thought was a bit odd, seeing how Apple I thought was moving away from that. But you can see different genres and more, and then go into maybe chamber music. You see Beethoven, Brahms, and more. So you can see more information about it. And then of course you have your library where you can make playlists and more. You can search by composers, and then of course you can search in general, maybe looking for Chopin Piano Concerto 2. So you can see everything here. If you want to learn more about it, go into it, see all of the different symphonies and more, and who's on the album. So it's just a dedicated music app for classical. Let me know if it's something you'll regularly use in the comments below. Now, as far as other new features, well, we're waiting for some features and there's some changes in the code. We're waiting for the updated next-gen CarPlay that we'll see in different automobiles. We're also waiting for that heavily updated accessibility mode. That's something that we should have in the future. We saw screenshots sort of a leak before where we would be able to fully customize accessibility for our needs based on what we need. So it could be touch controls, visual controls with voiceover, and much more. iMessage contact key verification seems to be coming soon though, as it looks like there could be something that relates to it in the code. The code shows a key which could be specifically related to message verifications, but it's not yet active as far as I can tell. So a few things in the code as well as wording changes. This is a very minor update so far, and we don't know if they've fixed any bugs, if they're working on the photo issue. So let's take a look at that and see if that's any different. But if we go into the camera, we'll turn off the lights here, make it a little bit more dim. And I know some people want me to test this with maybe a photo of myself, but let's take a photo here, take a screenshot, and let's see how they compare, if they're much different or what you see is what you get. And from what I can tell, it looks better, but I don't think it's fixed yet. Some people said it's a little bit better with iOS 16.4, but it still has a little ways to go. So hopefully Apple's aware and still working on it. At the time of this video, there's still nothing in the feedback app as far as new notes. However, they have updated the public website with them. So if we go into the website, you can see here it says Home, new feature, a shared admin in a home is now able to pair or add Matter accessories. So you can share that with someone, and then we have some known issues for the Home app or Home in general. So there's quite a few things here, but that's all they've mentioned in 16.5 Beta 1. Typically, there's a lot more to mention here as far as known issues, so hopefully that means they've really fixed a lot of bugs in the background. As far as storage, many people tell me storage is much better with iOS 16.4. It's not taking up as much space. System storage isn't taking up as much space, so let me have this load and we'll take a look. Storage finished loading, and one thing to note that was odd with 16.5 is in order to have it load properly, I had to go back out to settings and then back into storage. So that was odd. It wasn't showing up. I did that and then it showed up properly. But system data is only taking up 10.35 gigabytes. Now this is cache data. It can use more than that. It's not a big problem, but it seems to be much less than it was using in previous updates. The same is true with 16.4. So that's great news. Let me know how it's going for you. As far as overall performance, well, on the 14 Pro Max, so far it's nice and fast, and we'll take a look at Geekbench in a moment, but it seems to be smooth as you would expect. Many people said animations seem to be faster in 16.4 as well. But going into music, loading different interfaces and things seem to be nice and fast. With iPhone 11, as it's one of the older supported devices, even though it's not that old, it seems to be pretty fast. Let's go ahead and load Minecraft and see how it does here. I haven't opened this in quite some time, so let's see how quickly it loads. So it's taking a moment. We're already in the game. We can press play, create a new world, press create, and we'll wait for it to create the world. It seems to be moving reasonably fast. We'll proceed here. It says building terrain. And you can see it's zipping right along here. It's doing okay. It's actually pretty fast there. So now that it draws the background or the distance, it's nice and smooth. So overall speed, it was a little bit slow there for a second as it was drawing the background, but in general, it seems to be nice and fast. As far as overall heat, I know quite a few of you are concerned about that, but surprisingly, even though this is a new update, it's barely warm. So that's pretty unexpected, I think, at this point. Let's take a look in the thermal camera quickly. And in the warmest area, I've seen 30.8 is the highest I've seen here. Let's switch over to Fahrenheit. The warmest I'm seeing is 89.6. So that's actually cooler than it was before. So that's great news, staying nice and cool. I don't really worry about it too much, but it's just something I know a lot of you are interested in. As far as overall battery life, let's go back to battery here. Battery health is at 98% for me. And if we go back to the last 10 days, iOS 16.4 hasn't been kind to me as far as battery. So you'll see yesterday I had 4 hours and 43 minutes of screen active time, 14 hours and 9 minutes of screen idle time. I used about 85% of my battery. A lot of that is lighting up my home and lock screen, so hopefully it's better this time around. Today we've had almost 3 hours of screen active time and used about 50%. So far it's doing a little bit better, but it will take a few days to know what that's like, and I'll have a follow-up this weekend where we'll talk about the overall battery life and just see how things are going, not only with 16.5, but 16.4 as well. And if you're wondering if you should install iOS 16.5 Beta 1, probably not at this point. This is an early beta. I would stay on 16.4 for a while because we won't see any major feature updates for a little bit, typically until maybe beta 2 or 3. So that's usually what you can expect. And as far as when to expect iOS 16.5 beta 2, typically in 2 weeks. So I would expect it maybe the week of the 9th. So maybe on the 11th of April or so, typically every couple of weeks for the first betas, and then we'll move to a weekly schedule after that. That would put the public release probably sometime in May. So we would see that. And then, of course, WWDC, or the Worldwide Developer Conference, should be in the first full week of June. And that's where we'll see most of the new features with iOS 17, whatever Apple's going to show us there. So lots to look forward to, but iOS 16.5 is going to be fairly minimal, I think, at this point, as Apple's working on iOS 17. As far as overall benchmarks, I took some screenshots of this earlier. You can see we're on 16.5. I scored 2,518 for single core, 6,207 for multi-core. This is better than the final version of iOS 16.4 for me. So it went up a little bit on the multi-core by about 100 or so, and then up a little bit on single core as well. Performance feels good. It's solid. I showed you on the iPhone 11. Everything seems to be pretty good there. And so that's everything so far with iOS 16.5 Beta 1. Of course, if I find more features, we'll talk about that on the weekend with the follow-up and more. But it seems like it's pretty minimal with Beta 1. I would expect major changes with Beta 2 or Beta 3. But let me know if you've found anything else I haven't mentioned in the comments below. And if you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, of course, it'll be linked in the description as it always is. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.